Why, hello! This is Soul, and we're back with more Horrific Vision commentary. We're continuing our series of videos where I take a class that I'm not very familiar with, gear it up with only outdoor and Horrific Vision content, and then complete a 5-chest run. Today, we're back in Stormwind with the return of my Unholy Death Knight, sort of fresh from his victory in Orgrimmar. He's got an item level of 433, with an emphasis on making ghouls and blowing them the heck up. He has 1 corruption, a max level Twilight Devastation. His cloak level is 11 and neck is at 75. Vision of Perfection rank 2 is his main essence, and he's using other stuff. Rank 1 Purification Protocol, rank 1 Lucid Dreams, and rank 2 Breath of the Dying. For talents, he's using All Will Serve, Bursting Swords, Asphyxiate, Harbinger of Doom, Death Pact, Epidemic, and Army of the Damned. For research, he has Elite Extermination and the Extra Life thing, so let's get started. This was a run that I did after, I think, like 4.5 hours of other vision runs on various classes, so I was a little bit rusty. This is actually my 3rd attempt at 5-chesting a Stormwind, and kind of my first bout going through. So, when I get started here, I opt to kind of lean a little bit away because I get dazed, and I don't want to get dazed while I'm trying to pull mobs. And there I did happen to get dazed. It would be a great help if I happened to use the mount equipment that prevented me from getting dazed, but oh well. So here I try to go a little bit big. I try to get like these couple of packs, I just try to get as much as I can without getting stunned, hopefully. But I tried to pop a decent number of cooldowns. No army, but I do try to pop a bunch of stuff for the purpose of just popping a bunch of epidemics and wiping them out. Of course, Twilight Devastation does a really good job of doing that stuff too. So definitely with a lower item level, corruption adds a whole lot to the experience. It makes things a heck of a lot easier. So with that pack gone, it's time to move on to the rest. I get dazed a little bit, either that or that's the corruption. And then I go for the Void Speaker, because this is the most troublesome one of them all. Of course, I think I try to grip it in, or maybe not. But the idea here, of course, as a Death Knight, as an Unholy Death Knight, I should say, is to just apply a bunch of these diseases, bunch everything up, and then just keep doing Epidemic, Pandemic. I'm probably going to mix that up throughout this run. I think there was a comment that noted that. Dealing with Repel as a Death Knight, I don't know why. I guess I was having a little bit of trouble with it. And then now I'm going back here. I'm noticing a little bit of lag on this footage, so I apologize in advance. I'm going back here because I totally forgot to look at the vial. So it's green. Green is the bad one, and I totally forgot what the good one is. I think red is what I should be going for here. So it's a little bit of lost time, but I'm able to proceed a little bit further. The cloak rank that I have is really significant at this point. So I have 65%, sanity resistance, which plays a lot into pretty much everything when it comes to taking attacks or the passive sanity drain that's going on. That seems to be kind of the sweet spot for me. As long as I have a rank 11 or so and Elite Extermination, I'm pretty much good to go. Anything else is kind of extra, whether it's more attack power or the extra life or whatnot. So here I'm doing another big pull, kind of. More like a half pull, I would say. But I'm doing a half pull and I'm including the elite. And in this case, I wanted to use Army of the Dead, but it happened to be on cooldown because I used it in a previous run and it was still on cooldown. So whoops to me. I did intend to use Army of the Damned, Army of the Dead here, whatever it's called, so I can blow this guy up with relative ease, thanks to all the explosions that would happen thanks to my Azeroth traits. At any rate, I blow up a bunch of them anyway, except for that lonely little archer person. So down it goes really quick, and then I will start clearing out bombs. The finesse isn't exactly, as you can see, I don't quite have the finesse there, but I'm at least able to see that, hey, there's a red vial. I'll go ahead and grab that real quick. That was exactly the plan, obviously. But with Army of the Damned available now, I probably could have and should have used it at some point just to make sure that I use it, and then I'd be able to get a little bit more time back, and from there I would be able to have another opportunity to use it, but oh well. Here I opt to just kind of run through as far as I can and just grab everything and use this little nook to grab some more of these ads, or otherwise just kind of get them together. And then of course blow these guys up with some poisons. As you can see, it is crazy effective. And of course that helps to lower the cooldown on my Apocalypse and my Army of the Damned, so it's a nice synergy that I'm able to work with here. Kind of a fast moving spec, at least I find it to be fast moving. I'm not exactly familiar enough with the likes of Frost or Blood to really have much of a say, but I have a lot of fun playing through this. Alright, so just one more bomb, and no other vials in sight. It's kind of a tough habit to try to keep my eyes open for vials like all the time and every time. Eventually you start to understand that there are little nooks and crannies that you typically want to check for. Of course, to help, there are different add-ons that are available too. And although you might have noticed that I don't really talk about it much, I'm not, even though I feature add-on videos and what have you, it's not something that I want to really encourage people to be dependent on. Anyway, we're taking on this area boss. I'm popping half of everything. No Army of the Damned again, but I do pop a good deal of stuff, and you can see those explosions. They just do a really good number on the area boss, and we're able to proceed, but not before having a kebab. At this level, when you're running a low level tune, I consider this a low level tune because he's like under 450 or so, there are certain challenges, and so if you're not doing enough damage, the best way to make up for it is to use whatever tricks you also have available to you. That includes using kebab or using the proper food. So this side goes down, I blow it up with some epidemic stuff, and we're able to proceed to Old Town. So Old Town can be a little bit of a challenge because of the different kind of CCs that come from these ads. For one, these guys that do the slow, they can be a whole lot of trouble if you leave them alone, especially if you're trying to move out of certain things. The slow can cause a whole lot of trouble. I have to go for the informant here because I still have plenty of sanity to go around. Of course, focusing on one, I try to blow up one as quickly as possible. That way I can save an interrupt or a stun for the other one. So I take down that first informant. Here's the second one that I do kick successfully. Yay, go me. And then down goes this other big guy. Some of the trouble comes from navigating through these alleys. I know that can be like kind of a big pain. Your best bet is really, I mean, to be honest, you can just kind of hit it anyway. It's not really a big deal. You would either be standing there or you would just get dazed anyway. So here I took it on the area boss. Unfortunately, there's this one part where I'm trying to avoid some of one of its attacks, that big fire blast sort of attack, but I'm standing a little bit too close to that particular person, and I happen to get hit anyway. Again, having to navigate these tight corners, it's kind of a gamble. You might be able to find an opening for yourself. More often than not, though, you probably won't. So we're proceeding to the next pack. I go straight for the Void Speaker. I get pulled from those chains, which can be a little bit of a bother. But down it goes, and I go for the Executioner next. You never know. You might be surprised at how quickly the Executioner can take you down if you happen to be at lower health. The Executioner does do additional damage to you if you happen to be at low health, and that can cause a whole lot of trouble because you're trying to keep yourself up, and in the meantime you're not killing mobs, and that can be kind of problematic. Something that you can, again, kind of experiment with is to use split personality to your advantage, at least in Old Town. If you happen to be taking a little bit of extra damage, you can just walk into split personality, and then all the mobs will suddenly go and attack Alaria instead. Because, teamwork. So let's go ahead and take care of this area boss here. I try my best to, I'm sorry, this isn't the area boss, this is just the second elite. But I try my best to conserve my cooldowns for Shaw, who's going to be coming up in just a moment. But I am at a little under 1/4 sanity. I take a little bit of a hit with that explodey thing. I happen to AMS, the split personality, which was entirely unnecessary, but oh well. Down goes this informant, and keep in mind that an executioner is part of this pack. So that's going to be the second ad that we're going to be taking out without too much trouble. Yeah, these light hunters they can also be a little bit sturdier than normal. I noticed that they can be a little bit squirrely, but the executioners do have more health than anyone else. So I believe I used an orb here. Let's find out. Yes, I do. So for safety's sake, I go ahead and pop the orb. I run into that for like no reason, and then I'm ready to engage Shaw. Or actually, looks like Galeria does it for me. So for this, it's a little bit troublesome for an Unholy Death Knight because you have your pets and your poisons and everything, but sometimes your pets will want to do the other thing. They'll want to attack the eyeballs, and that can be, well, that can be a little bit frustrating. So I do my best by, at least when I start the fight, I don't immediately pop Apocalypse because some of that duration is going to be taken away. Shaw tends to disappear very quickly into the fight. So once he reappears the first time, that's when I'll pop Apocalypse so I can get a little bit of extra damage in before he disappears for that second time. And then when he comes back, he's going to be back for a little bit longer. But of course, you want to try your very best to position the eyes in such a way that they're not going to be looking at you. And I'll talk a little bit more about how to kind of sort of control how the eyes function during the Ilaria fight. But as for Shaw, down he goes. Although you notice that immediately when I turn around, I take a little bit of sanity damage. That can be a little bit of a pain, so just be very careful when you're navigating your way out. So we're back at the cathedral and off to, I believe, the trade district. Skip that stuff. We're good. We can skip that pack over there. By the way, if you ever happen to accidentally pull that pack, you can always leash it. Just run away and then you're good to go. So a commenter informed me that if you stand very close to a tentacle or otherwise be within its melee range, it's going to not disappear. It's going to just kind of keep beating at your face. But the moment that you leave its melee range, that's when it disappears. So that's going to be a very important tactic that I'll be employing that, funny enough, I never really noticed. So thank you, commenters. This pack over here, I opt to pull these guys separately. That way I can do kind of a bigger pull. The reason being is because of the AoE and the torments. They can stack up very quickly, and they can be a little bit overwhelming. So here I go ahead and dot those guys up, grab these guys, but I kind of move in. I mean, there's the boss isn't out yet. He doesn't come out until the other one is dead. Don't get stunned like I do. And then I just kind of run on top of the tentacles and then go to town, make sure to take care of them first. Now, some of these mobs, they are troublesome on their own too, but for the most part, taking care of the tentacle, I guess at this point, I am just conditioned to hate them forever. And so I'll keep doing that. Hate them forever. Not a problem. They don't have feelings. They're just tentacles, right? So for these guys, because they do like some minor CC, I opt to take them out first, as opposed to just going straight for the guy. I lied. Looks like I just ended up going for him first. See, this is how you know that I'm doing this commentary live. So, haha, there we go. So, unfortunately, I don't have much recourse for multiple agonizing torments. I just gotta try to blow this guy up as much as I can. I probably could and should save more cooldowns for this guy as opposed to the other one, because there is much more, there is almost unavoidable sanity damage that I take if I don't happen to have an interrupt available. In this case with this guy though, not so much. I can get started right away. You notice that I run up to him instead of engage him at range, so that way I can get the ghouls on him right away and they can explode, which is awesome. I get a real kick out of using these guys to like blow stuff up. So you can see that his HP is dipping really quickly. He gets, he does chains pretty much consecutively, but the ghouls are continuing to beat on his face until he's dead. And then off we go to free these guys. The entire area is clear and we're good to go. Keep an eye out, of course, for vials. Remember, we're doing red vials. Don't forget, because I often forget. Got to give a quick shout out to Nyx over on Twitch. Every time I do these, whenever I do in fact remember to look at the vials, I'm like, okay, cool. So looks like we got a blue vial today. And then maybe a couple seconds later, he'll chime in and let me know what vial I should be getting. So yeah, you don't need weak auras. You can just use your Twitch chat. Easy, guys. Easy. I'm being sarcastic. But cool. Red stuff. Sanity back. And we are looking pretty good on sanity now. We're about to hit the mage quarter. We still have 2 orbs remaining. And we're sitting kind of pretty. Pretty enough that I can actually open up some chests. Go me. So I'm pretty happy with this route that I've been taking lately. You'll notice that for the most part, my characters, they tend to take the same route, and it's a matter of comfort more than anything. Being able to take a more comfortable route for you it's definitely better than something that you might be told to do. But of course, it really depends on you. Some other classes or some other players may have something entirely different to suggest. And if you do, I suggest letting us know in the comment below. More tips is always welcome. Not good with English, so oh well. But in we go. I make sure to mount up before I go in, and thankfully I only have split personality to worry about and not leaden foot, although as a Death Knight that's not really a big deal anyway. The way that these eyeballs are positioned is great because I can just throw out diseases and all the tumors will get hit, and I can blow all that stuff up and they'll all get hit. It's nice. It's very convenient for me. And I believe there was a vial that I saw there too. I think there was. We'll see in just a moment. This particular area, that particular stretch can be a little bit cumbersome though, because of the way that split personality spawns and the positioning of how each of those little puddles appears. It can be a little bit troublesome. So I make sure to target the Voidwalker person as usual, so that way I can take fewer debuffs and that way less damage. It can be really, really sketch if you let these debuffs stack up and you're not like a tank that has a whole ton of HP or a bunch of defensive cooldowns. In this case, I opt to go ahead and take on the big guy right away. No orb, no nothing, no food. And I just kind of YOLO this guy. But I pop almost everything that I've got. I'm still holding on to Army. Frankly, I just kind of wasted my opportunities to utilize Army to its fullest because I only use it once in this run. You'll see when I use it for Ilaria. But at any rate, down this guy goes without too much of a sanity loss. It's not so bad, although it was pretty messy. For the most part, because of the ads that are coming, I just try to focus on spreading diseases and blowing stuff up while maintaining pustules to burst and everything else. You guys are probably more familiar with the terms than I am. I'm just doing my best to explain this. But down that path goes, of course, the marshmallow goes first. The others happen to go down. They happen to go down very quickly. You just want to make sure that you take care of the psychic screams before they go off. This particular pack is pretty non-threatening. It's just the Portal Master, which I believe does not do a psychic scream like the other ones do. Maybe it's because it's, the Nakir. I forgot what they're called. Something like that. My lore gets a little rusty sometimes. But now we're going back out and around. We're trying to avoid a couple of packs. And we're going for this particular Portal Master, but not before the Marshmallow guy, which is kind of a mistake. I think we might see here that a fear does in fact go off. Look at that Mind Fillet. That's the Portal Keeper doing his thing, but I'm focused entirely on this guy here. Yeah, I did get feared into Disorient. And hey, they're going for the ghouls, so better them than me. TD manages to finish them off, and TD was doing its job. I think it does. I think it did do a great job of helping me clear stuff quite a bit faster, but it hasn't been nearly as critical as some of my on some of my other characters. Maybe it's because I'm not doing like massive pulls, but oh well. It looks like I'm able to hold my own decently well. So now we're taking on this guy, and this guy can be slightly troublesome because, you know, the Rain of Fire goes out, but you can't interrupt the Shadow Bolt at range. Someone had to tell me that, and I'm grateful for that. But between the ghouls and Apocalypse, they do a really good number at blowing up. You can see that when they blew up right there, that was it. It was game over for him, and now we're able to proceed up to Umbric. Umbric is Funbric. At least one you don't have to worry about leaden foot. Thank goodness. But you have to worry about that. That's perfect, isn't it? Look at that. Just the perfect FU. But now we'll start climbing. I could have opened up that chest, but I think at this point I'm like, okay, home stretch, man. I have full sanity. I have one orb available. I have split personality right in front of me, blocking me off. And I have my extra life. So I am plenty armed. Just don't make mistakes. Don't get cocky. Stay tense. Not super tense. I do opt to taking a kebab anyway, just in case things go absolutely like awful. Well, engage, apply disease. TD opens up really well for me. Thank you, TD. And I try to make sure that the ghouls are active and they start charging over to this guy, so that way if they happen to be getting there first, like they do here, thankfully, because of, you know, since I was dazed, they are doing plenty of work for me. Thank you, guys. But now it's time to try to get some more out, if I can. In this case, it's a little bit harder to deal with the kind of attacks that this guy does. The arcane missiles is something that I still definitely want to take care of. And because I am a pet-based class, I can worry slightly less about being polymorphed. At least I know damage is still going out. So if you have pets or if you're using dots, it's not super critical. I mean, I guess the best thing would be to make sure that your dots or your pets aren't falling off before a successful polymorph goes off. Or in the case of a Death Knight, if you can use things like AMS and all that, those are very helpful too. But down he goes. I'm pretty good on sanity. I got plenty of tricks. And I think I decided to take a little bit of a victory lap by, yep, sure enough, down these guys go. With a TD even, kind of like dotting my I's. But even though it took a couple of tries, this was pretty good. This turned out pretty well. I was expecting to have a little bit harder of a time because I would have a little bit lack of control, but I guess as a melee class, I was able to group people up plenty well, and use diseases and explosions to take it home. But now it's time. Now it's really game time. So I'm gonna pop my final orb. I have plenty of stuff available to me. I have army. I have all that good stuff. And now it's time to go. I don't have any cooldown pots. I don't have drums to use. And those would help me greatly too. But I let everything go. Everything's going. Apocalypse goes. Army of the Dead goes. So even though I'm not exactly like doing the damage, you can see that the damage is definitely going out. So going in, the explosions, they do a good number on her. So she's down to about 40-something% life. Chains are about to go out. I just make sure that I try to apply diseases if I can. I don't think I was able to. We can see it falling off right there. Oh boy. But I reapplied them. I had some ghouls spawned, and now we're good to go. So the eyeball, while it does do a number on me, you can see that it's not really that big of a deal. I think the sound of the eyeball is worse than the actual sanity damage that you're taking, at least at this level. When you're dealing with multiple masks, then it can be kind of an issue, but when you're not dealing with any at the moment, you're okay. So when it comes to positioning the eye, the rule of thumb is to watch its cast bar. And all you'll really want to do is just face where you want the eyeball to go, because that's where it's going to go, right in front of your face. So if you position yourself that way, then you can simply turn around and you can face the boss on your own and the eyeball would be behind you right away. So it might be a good idea to maybe put a focus on it. That would be helpful. See, I managed to mention it. And I managed to get this clear. So this turned out to be fun. I can finally put the Death Knight on the shelf, at least for a little while, until I feel like maybe if I want to do masks, but there are many, many other characters for me to work on. As for the gear that I actually got something that's pretty good as soon as I open it. There we go. So I got gloves that give me a max level tentacle, which would be really helpful during the Ilaria fight. That way I have more damage that's going to her, even if as a melee class I'm not able to get something like that out myself. So things like the tentacle or things like infinite stars can be extremely helpful during a fight when otherwise you have to disengage from a fight. And I guess there we have it. So that is it for my Unholy Death Knight. He completed Orgrimmar, he completed Stormwind, he's good to go. And well, if you follow this guide, it might give you at least a clue on how to get through this. So thanks for watching. Don't forget to like the video if it was helpful. Leave a comment and let other people know if you have any tips or tricks or corrections, because I definitely have corrections to put in, but well, we did it. So you guys have a good one. I'll see you for the next thing that I do. But until then, stay safe, stay happy, and stay breezy.